AITA for not telling my roommate about my large salary, when I'm aware he's been struggling to pay rent. This is a bit of a wild ride, so bear with me. For context, I, 28F, live with 3 roommates in a 2-bedroom apartment. It's not the biggest space, but we've made it work. We're all crammed in here with a mix of books, hand-me-down furniture, and that slightly chaotic grad student energy. And for the last 6 years, we've split rent evenly. I live in a small space off the attic that was initially intended to be an office, but it's been fine for me. Here's the thing, I've always kept a pretty low profile. During residency, I worked weird hours, so I was kind of the ghost roommate anyway. I'd leave early, get home late, and more or less passed out as soon as I stepped through the door. It wasn't that I didn't like them or anything, I just didn't have the time or energy to hang out. Over the years, my quiet personality meant they didn't even realize when I finished residency. When I officially became a licensed emergency physician a few months ago, I kept to myself about it. Not because I was trying to hide anything maliciously, but just it didn't seem relevant. I know this sounds strange, but it's actually sort of easy to avoid those conversations in our place. We each have our routines, and I've always been the type to handle my business alone. Plus, the idea of my new job, let alone my salary, felt like oversharing in a way that made me uncomfortable. I didn't feel the need to announce it just because my income had changed. Here's where things get tricky. Last night, one of my roommates, a 27M, was in a pretty bad car accident. It wasn't life-threatening, but he had to be brought into the emergency department via ambulance. As luck would have it, I was on shift when he came in. I saw his name on the intake list and figured I should check in on him. I went over, we chatted briefly, and I let him know he'd be fine. It was really quick, but it was enough for him to realize I wasn't a resident anymore. By then, the rumors about our hospital salaries were probably running through his mind. I didn't think much of it. I finished my shift, went home, and was expecting to go straight to bed. But the second I walked in, I felt this tension in the air. And the other 2 were all sitting in the living room. It was like they were waiting for me. I started the conversation. He went straight to the point. Why didn't you tell us you're not in residency anymore? I was a bit taken aback. I was tired, worn out from a long shift, and definitely not prepared for a confrontation. So I just told him the truth, probably way too bluntly. I didn't think it mattered, I said. I wasn't sure where this was going, but then they dropped the bomb. Do you realize I'm struggling to make my share every month while you're here hoarding a doctor's salaries? That took me by surprise, but I stayed calm. I tried to explain, saying that I still have massive loans to pay off from medical school and that I'd been saving up in case things changed with my job. I didn't think it was anyone's business, honestly. But as I was explaining, I could see my words weren't landing the way I'd hoped. They all got really quiet. And then they started asking things like, did you ever think to help out? Or didn't you notice it was barely scraping by? And yeah, I knew I'd been struggling, but I hadn't thought it was my place to intervene. We'd all been students at some point. We all had periods where we were just barely getting by, and no one had ever stepped in to help me when I was in that position. I figured we were all on equal footing, and I didn't want to mess with the balance. I went to bed after that, but it's been cold shoulder central in the apartment today. Every time I walked by one of them, they'd either turn away or avoid eye contact. I tried to talk to one of my other roommates, B, 26F, about it, but she just shrugged and told me that they were all pretty upset, especially A, and that I should have told them sooner. She said something like, we thought you were one of us. Turns out you've been on a whole different level. So now, I'm really torn. I could have helped out a little more, but I feel like it's my right to keep my financial situation private. Am I the asshole for not telling them? For keeping this to myself? Even though I knew one of them was having trouble making ends meet? Update. Thanks for all the feedback. I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did, and I genuinely appreciate all the perspectives. I talked to my roommates this evening. I explained that I wasn't deliberately hiding my salary to be secretive or selfish. I reminded them that I'd also struggled to make ends meet while in residency and never expected or asked anyone for financial support. That seemed to take some of the sting out, but it still looked really hurt, which was tough to see. I offered to help cover some of the upcoming bills if it would relieve the stress. However, they said he didn't want charity, his words, not mine, and that it wasn't about the money as much as the feeling that I'd become a stranger to them. It's hard to explain, but I understand it now a little better. They're hurt because they feel like they've been sharing a space with someone who's been keeping a massive part of her life hidden from them. And that's not entirely wrong. It's not how I'd intended things, but that doesn't change how it feels on their end.